All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're building a practical, step-by-step playbook for mastering your mindset. We're going to show you how your internal world isn't just some passenger along for the ride. No, it's the actual driver of your life. So, let's dive in.
This is a question that can sound a little out there, right? A bit mystical. But what if I told you the link between what you think and what you get is more direct, maybe even more scientific than you ever thought possible? That's exactly what we're going to break down.
And here's our game plan. First, we'll cover the big idea, why your mindset is everything. Then we get tactical. We're talking about how to build real belief, use some powerful mind techniques, smash through your mental blocks, and finally, how to use the ultimate secret weapon for growth, gratitude.
Okay, before we get to any of the how-tos, we have to really let this one core idea sink in. Your mindset isn't just part of the game, it is the game. Think of it like the operating system for your entire life. It's the engine behind every single thing you do.
This really says it all, doesn't it? It's impossible to plant seeds of negativity and frustration and then expect to harvest a life full of success and happiness. Your outer world is basically just a mirror, and it's always going to reflect what's going on inside.
And just look at the contrast here. It's so clear. A negative state, well, it's like quicksand. It just keeps you stuck, focused on all the problems. But a positive state, that's the launch pad. That's where your brain suddenly has the space for new ideas, for creative solutions, and for seeing opportunities that are invisible to everyone else. It's the prerequisite for taking action.
Okay, so we're all on board that a positive mindset is key. But how do you actually build genuine belief, especially if you're starting out feeling pretty skeptical? Well, this next section is all about the nuts and bolts of turning that doubt into rock-solid certainty. Look, belief isn't about blind faith. Not at all. It's built on evidence. The whole goal here is to basically build a case file for your own success, to gather so much proof that your big goal stops feeling like a wild fantasy and starts feeling, well, totally normal and inevitable.
So how do you build that case file? It's a three-step process. First, you study people who've already done what you want to do, especially people who started out kind of like you. This proves to your brain that, hey, this is possible. Second, immerse yourself. Go where your goal is the norm. Want to be a successful writer? Go hang out at a bookstore or a writer's conference. And third, start small. Get a tiny win under your belt. Each little victory is another piece of evidence, another brick in that foundation of unshakable belief. Now, once that foundation of belief starts to get solid, it's time to open up the toolkit. These next couple of techniques are designed to program your most powerful asset, your subconscious mind. Seriously, think of it like giving your internal supercomputer a crystal-clear destination.
First up, visualization. And let's be super clear here. This is not just daydreaming. This is a focused, intentional mental rehearsal. It's about creating an experience in your mind that is so vivid, you can feel it, you can hear it, you can even smell it, that your brain starts to log it as a real memory.
And this is why it works. Your brain has this amazing filtering system. You've probably heard of it, the reticular activating system. It sifts through millions of pieces of information every single second. When you visualize something specific, you're giving that system a new command. It's just like when you decide you want to buy a certain car, and then all of a sudden, you see that car everywhere. The cars were always there. You just programmed your brain to finally notice.
All right, next up is a technique used by some of the top performers in the world, from actors to CEOs, to build a powerful self-image. It's called the mirror technique, and its genius is in its simplicity. You're literally connecting your goals directly to the person you see in the reflection.
And there's some really cool science behind this. When you look at yourself and say your goals out loud, it creates the state of heightened self-awareness. It actually activates what are called mirror neurons in your brain, which helps you start to embody the person you're describing. It takes an abstract idea and makes it real, physical, and personal, which helps build those new neural pathways so much faster.
So this all sounds great, but let's be real. The path isn't always a smooth, straight line. We all have these internal walls, right? These deep-seated fears and limiting beliefs that just seem to hold us back. This section is all about how to identify those walls and then, brick by brick, tear them down.
So, what is it for you? What's that nagging story you tell yourself about what you can or can't do? The funny thing is, most of these beliefs, they aren't even ours to begin with. They're usually just echoes from our childhood, things we heard our parents say, or stuff we concluded when we were 7 years old.
Do any of these sound familiar? Yeah, these are the classics. Think of them like old, outdated software running in the background of your computer. They're quietly influencing every decision you make, and you don't even realize it.
So the first, most important step is just to notice that the program is even running.
So how do you uninstall that old software? Well, one of the most powerful tools we have comes from psychology. It's called exposure treatment. The keywords here are systematically and gradually. This is not about taking some massive, terrifying leap of faith. It's about taking tiny, manageable, almost boring steps to prove to your nervous system that the danger it thinks is there isn't actually real.
The fear of public speaking is a perfect example of how this works. You don't start by trying to give a TED Talk. No way. You start by just going to an event and sitting in the audience. That's it. Totally safe. Then, the next time, maybe you work up the courage to ask one question from your seat. Then, maybe you join a small group where you only have to talk for 60 seconds. See? Each step is tiny, but it slowly rewires your fear response until that original massive fear just kind of disappears.
And that brings us to our final section, which might just be the most important piece of the entire playbook: gratitude. It isn't just some nice, fluffy feeling. It's a genuine strategic advantage. It's the very soil in which all other positive change can grow. I absolutely love this analogy because it's just so true. You can't grow a beautiful garden on a patch of concrete, right? Well, trying to plant seeds of ambition in a mind that's full of resentment or complaints is pretty much the same thing. Gratitude is what makes the soil fertile. It creates the perfect mental and emotional environment for positive things to actually take root and grow.
So how do you actually practice this in a real way? Here's a simple and incredibly powerful tool: the balance sheet method. See, our brains are wired with a negativity bias. We naturally focus on the one thing that went wrong today instead of the 100 things that went right. This little technique forces your brain to do the exact opposite.
And here's what happens when you actually do this. You sit down and you list it all out: your sufferings versus your blessings. And your blessings are things like your health, having a roof over your head, your family, access to the internet, all of it. You'll quickly realize your blessings, your assets, totally dwarf your setbacks, your liabilities. Just the simple act of doing that math can shift your entire state from feeling like you have nothing to feeling truly wealthy. Ultimately, this is the mindset that gratitude creates. You start to become what some people call an inverse paranoid. Instead of feeling like the world is out to get you, you start to believe that the universe is actually conspiring to help you. Every problem becomes a lesson. Every challenge is just a detour pointing you in a better direction.
So there you have it, the playbook. The ideas are simple, but their impact is huge. Your mindset isn't some fixed trait that you're stuck with. It is the most powerful tool you will ever own. You can shape it, you can sharpen it, and you can aim it wherever you want. The only question left is, how are you going to use it?